Welcome to the first Ricky's Reboots, where we are taking an existing franchise of films, giving it a noogie, and doing it again. Fans want this. I want this. I'm going to give this hopefully ongoing series a full 20 movie treatment because it deserves the attention. So X-Men is a funny thing. It's amazing in comic form. They have the largest fan base for a product that is consistently buried in terrible stories and killed off regularly by Marvel. But the movies are still doing well without the same push, merchandising, and big studio money because people want the X-Men. I think they could be as big as the Avengers. The stories and teams are created in the same way, a mapped out universe that you just muscle through. The material is there, so let's do a 20 X-Men film franchise from scratch. So we want an outline. There are so many teams. We are basically building a tree. They don't have to be directly related, just not stepping on each other's toes. Characters will intersect. This can go on forever, and without the different teams and character combos, I don't see breaking in filming and releases being a problem. The stories are there. I am not playing the trilogy game. It just may work out that way. I need to decide on the storylines that I want. I want them in order that mixes well to allow for continuous filming, following a similar way in the comics, but you can't do exactly for what we want. So I'm trying to consider a lot of things. It's going to be a bit of a mess. I will try to talk it out. In a 20 film franchise off the bat, we can't afford to plan for possible misses. I cut a ton of part 2s, rerun stories, specifically added major stories, character arcs, and things that I enjoyed in general. I need to continue to cut and remove more, but here's where we are. In 1963, X-Men form. That's obviously an X-Men movie. 1970s, we got Weapon X, Wolverine. 1975, Uncanny X-Men, Phoenix. 1983, New Mutants. 1980, Dark Phoenix. 1981, Days of Future Past. 1986, Mutant Massacre. 88, Fall of Mutants. 86, Apocalypse. 90, X-Force. 88, Excalibur. Age of Apocalypse times 2. 1991, X Factor Team. 1992, Executioner Song. 1993, Fatal Attractions. 2004, X-23 and Dakin and the Wolverine stories. 1996, Onslaught. 2005, House of M, and 2008, Messiah War. I know the dates are out of order, but there's a reason for that. So if you look at the character sheet, we got X-Men, Wolverine, X-Men, New Mutants, X-Men, X-Men, Wolverine, New Mutants, X-Factor, X-Force, Excalibur, Age of Apocalypse, X-Factor, X-Force, X-Men, Wolverine, X-Men, X-Men, X-Force. So we broke up the stories pretty well. We just got to make sure that we make the movies make sense for continuity. And that is the plan. 20 movies, 20 plans. We now need 20 casts. Before we do 20 summaries, now that we have an outline, let's see the lineups. X-Men movies are largely character driven, and they can get out of control. Aside from a few cameos, I think we need to limit the list of main heroes and main villains, no more than 7 of each. And a main POV style character. The story can be kind of targeted as from the perspective of. Age of Apocalypse must be huge, so that's why it has to be 2 movies. So we're going to kick off with X-Men 1. Professor X, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Beast, Iceman, Angel, and this movie would be called Brotherhood. We got Magneto, Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, Toad, Mastermind, issues 1 through 4. A very simple start. Kind of a character introduction with a lot of action and a little easy on the origins if possible. The next story, it's going to be Wolverine Weapon X. Wolverine, Guardian of Vindicator versus Sabretooth, Omega Red, Lady Deathstrike, Deadpool, and Maverick. An all-encompassing Weapon X story. Get that done. Get it over with. And bring in some of the good stories from the Origin series. It's pretty nice. So, third film, Uncanny X-Men, Phoenix. We're going to kick off with the Phoenix story. X-Men, Uncanny X-Men with Kitty Pryde versus the group of the Hellfire Club. Probably a good place to start with the Uncanny X-Men with the new team. The next round is going to be the New Mutants for Part 4. They're going to be led by Magneto. It's going to be a very early run where they take on the Hellions. Uncanny X-Men 2, Dark Phoenix. So this is where we turn dark, where we turn to space, and where we take that same X-Men group, minus a Jean Grey, and fighting a villain group in space, the Shi'ar and Dark Phoenix. The next film will be Uncanny X-Men 3, Days of Future. This will be Wolverine, Kate Pryde, Colossus, Storm, Rachel Summers, Magneto versus the Sentinels. This is the big, dreary future. I think I like what they did with Days of Future Past, but I don't like that they didn't do enough of the big, grand story of Magneto. I don't want to give anything away. We'll get there, but it's wonderful. So, Wolverine 2, The Mutant Massacre. So I'm taking the Mutant Massacre story. I'm aiming it at Wolverine. We're taking his perspective out of it. We got Wolverine, Angel, Colossus, Kitty Pryde, Nightcrawler, Psylocke, and Storm taking on Mr. Sinister's bunch. The Sabretooth, Malice, Riptide, Prism, Vertigo, Blockbuster. This will also feature the first Gambit into the series, kind of playing his 00 agent angle. And it'll be a good introduction and kind of makes him a sketchy character, so that's good. So the next movie will be New Mutants 2, Fall of Mutants. So this is coming at you from a New Mutants perspective, and we're going to stay away from the other X-Men titles. So this is just going to be that same lineup from New Mutants 1, this time against the Animator and the Right, kind of explaining what's happening in the Fall of Mutants from that perspective, so it should be fun. After that, mutant teams are all kind of breaking up. We got the Uncanny X-Men, we got a lot of things going on. Jean Grey returns, X-Factor, Apocalypse. So this is where all the characters are kind of turning. Cyclops is becoming more of a leader. You got Jean Grey, who's dead and now not dead, and she's returned, but not the Phoenix now. You got Angel, who over the course of the story for Apocalypse is going to lose those wings and become Archangel. You got Beast, makes himself blue, and you got Iceman, who's still just cold. Anyway, so we got the Apocalypse, the 4. Moving on, X-Force first series. It's going to be Cable, Shatterstar, Cannonball, Domino, Boom Boom, Siren, and Warpath. And they're going to take on the big group from 98 with a few extras in there. We got Gideon, Deadpool, Tolliver, Copycat, Black Tom, Sunspot, and Juggernaut. The next film I really want to do, I don't think anybody else wants it though, but I really want this. I really want Excalibur. I think Excalibur's fun. I like what they did with the characters. I like how they bounce off of each other. I like Captain Britain, Megan, Nightcrawler, Rachel, Kitty Pryde, and of course Lockheed. They'll take on the Gatecrasher, TechNet, and the Warwolves. So then we're to the interesting part, because here we have to start talking about Age of Apocalypse. Now, I like Age of Apocalypse a whole lot, and it's very big, and it's a lot of comics, 70 couple of comics. So I want it broken up into 2 parts. I want to use, and here's something that I think that is such a missed opportunity, when you can take these characters and take these actors and throw them into alternate selves and make them play that same character from a different perspective. I think that sets up something exciting. So I really want to see it. I want to see the hero team of Jean Grey, Nightcrawler, Magneto, Rogue, Weapon X, Blink, and Gambit. And I want them to go up against Mr. Sinister, Cyclops, Havoc, Beast, Cannonball, Sabretooth, and Wildchild. I want to open that thing up. It's going to be fun. It's going to be really interesting to see these guys kind of step out of their comfort zone and get in as villains to come back. And then you've got, in part 2, Jean Grey, Nightcrawler, Weapon X, Blink, Sabretooth, X-Man, Rogue, Apocalypse, Mr. Sinister, Abyss, Holocaust, Rasputin, and Cyclops. So you lose a lot of characters along the line of the storyline. We've got a big twist with Legion in there, and if we want to, we can make a nod to what happened with Legion Quest. I don't want to give away how we got to Age of Apocalypse, because that can be a movie later. Later, we can go back and revisit Legion Quest and make that a movie, because that was a really cool thing. but I don't want it in my top 20. This is my top 20, so we'll come back to it if we're extending the series past this, or if Legion ends up with nothing to do for a recording cycle, then we'll get them in there. So now we're at X Factor 2. X Factor 2 is the new beginning. It's the new team. We got Havoc, Polaris, we got Quicksilver, Multiple Man, Wolfsbane, and Strong Guy. And they're going to go up against the new Brotherhood at this point. It's Sauron, Toad, Pyro, Blob, and Fantasia. The next film will be Cable, and now we're getting into some more storylines. So I want to break out Executioner's Song. I loved it. I think this is a great time. It's a Cable movie. Cable, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Wolverine, Forge, Havoc, and Polaris, taking on Strife, the Dark Riders, Mr. Sinister, and Apocalypse. Maybe not as much as the other characters, but this is a Cable versus Strife story, and it's pretty awesome. So that'll be fun to watch. And then we move into the next X-Men movie, where now we're kicking off the new series of X-Men. This is Fatal Attractions. Professor X, Jean Grey, Gambit, Rogue, Wolverine, Quicksilver, Beast, and they're taking on Magneto, the Flipped Colossus, Exodus, Frenzy, Skids, Rusty, and Holocaust. So moving on from Fatal Attractions, now we have Wolverine 3. Now here's where we can get a little interesting, because I want X-23, I want Dakin, I want them in a story. So I want to find a way to combine them. So broke them up into their own teams, threw in some characters that people want to see. We can make this kind of a Weapon X2 sort of thing. Wolverine just lost his adamantium, so we need a way to get it back. I want Wolverine, X-23, and Deadpool to take on Dakin, Stryker, Cyber, and Romulus. I think we can make this really interesting and really blow out a freaking Wolverine movie with about 4 or 5 different flavors of Wolverine. So the next movie is going to be the X-Men 2, and that's going to be the Onslaught story. The Onslaught story, Jean Grey, Storm, Iceman, Cyclops, Joseph, Beast, and Archangel are going to take on Onslaught and the Sentinels. From that, we move into another universe-shaking event with House of M. This is X-Men 3. And this will be Emma Frost, Cyclops, Nightcrawler, Mystique, Rogue, Kitty Pryde, and Wolverine, taking on Magneto, Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, Polaris, William, and Thomas. So moving out of House of M, we come back in with X-Force 2, which is a completely different team, different characters. Again, we're trying to be able to layer these movies the best we can and spread out the characters so that they can do some multiple filming and we can get these things cranked out. So X-Force 2 is Messiah War. This is going to be Cable and Deadpool, Domino, Warpath, X-23, Archangel, and Boom Boom. They will be taking on Strife, Bishop, Leper Queen, and Apocalypse. So that's 20 movies. I think it's a pretty good layout. 50 years of X-Men series comics and 21 movies. Yep, 21. I have another idea. I do want to do Days of Future Past in 2 movies, because I think it's great. I think it deserves 2 movies. I think it's 2 completely different stories. So we did Days of Future, right? I think part 2 is Days of Past. I think you do a future movie, big No Hope style, this is the end, followed by the Full of Hope, we can fix this past movie. So you got Uncanny X-Men number 4 is going to be Days of Past. This is coming out right after Days of Future, and at the end of this movie you tie everything together and you give it up. This is Professor X, Kitty Pryde, Angel, Storm, Nightcrawler, Wolverine, Colossus versus the then Brotherhood, Mystique, Destiny, Pyro, Avalanche, and Blob, with Robert Kelly, obviously. So I hope to provide cohesion, action, and anticipation, so let's do this! I've always wanted a semi-faithful series with good characters. I wanted a genuine mix. So, not bad. The core remains the Uncanny X-Men, seemingly through the entire series. The Wolverine, in just over half of the movies, the most popular characters. So, you got Cyclops, Jean Grey, and and some of the more important characters. You move into Nightcrawler, one of the bigger fan favorites, next on that list. Immediately followed by Beast and Storm, Colossus, Kitty, the ones that you need as the core X-Men to really fill out this series and this franchise. And then our villains and antis, really big servings of Apocalypse, Magneto, Sabretooth, Deadpool, and Mr. Sinister. So what more could you want from an X-Men franchise? So we are taking on what is my biggest and probably favorite projects. So let's lay out some X-Men movies. I'm writing, I'm cutting, I'm recording, so please let me know if I should continue with my X-Men series by commenting, liking, sharing, and subscribing. Find me on Facebook. The music is provided by Connor Stone at connorstonemusic.com and on Facebook. I'm Ricky from Ricky's Rees, and a Gambit movie? Really?
I used to dream about